Welcome along to episode 11 of Strategy and Conversions. Mark is back with me again this week. So this is going to be a real serious episode, and I think there's so many gems that are going to be in this episode because the messaging is just so strong, and the different events that we're going to run through. Last week, if you listened to the podcast, I was on my own, and I basically said Mark was taking a medical timeout. But here's the truth. About 2 weeks ago, I think probably about this time, actually, when we were recording this, 2 weeks ago, I received a message from you, Mark, and it just said, mate, I'm in an ambulance on my way to hospital.
Yeah.
What happened, Mark? What happened?
What happened? Well, it was a severe wake-up call. So I've been having chest pains for I guess for about sort of two weeks beforehand, and I always just didn't have anything other than a bit of a tight chest and stuff, and I just thought it was indigestion, so I didn't take it any further, and I just shrugged it off, thought it was all okay, and then it was a Tuesday night when I had it really badly. I managed to get back to sleep, but the following day phoned the doctor, and I explained what happened, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was, I felt okay. And he said, no, he's going to get me an ambulance and get me in a hospital. And I was really, really taken aback. And I found out that I was having I had already had a heart attack and was having one at that particular time as well. So I learned an awful lot about stress and heart attacks and electrocardiograms and things and ways. So I was in a hospital that day, and I had another episode while I was in the hospital, and that was the most kind of serious one, and ended up being in hospital for 5 days, where they had to put some stents into the arteries of my heart. Only one artery, but yeah, absolutely. It went from being one of those events you just think it's a bit uncomfortable, because I wasn't in severe pain. Well, no, I guess I was that final morning I was in severe pain, but it went from a stage where I just thought the feeling was uncomfortable to really having this wake-up call of thinking, wow, you're lucky to be alive now, so I'm really grateful to be here on the call, to be honest. That's
exactly it. I mean, that is the big thing, isn't it? Is that, who knows what tomorrow brings. Like, tomorrow's never promised and stuff like that. But I can remember, mate, obviously, you messaged me and I'm like, what's going on? And you said, just a few issues kind of thing. I should be back out this afternoon. And then I think about, 5 days later or whatever, you're still in there. Right. And then you came out and obviously we had a catch up and you told me what happened. Man, it is just crazy.
It is. And it just realized the whole thing about the frailty of life comes back, doesn't it? And all those kind of stuff comes to haunt you. And as you said, tomorrow is never guaranteed. And again, with business, tomorrow in business is never guaranteed. Look at this whole massive problems the pandemic has had on people's business. So we never know what's around the corner. In life and in business.
It was a big eye opener for me. I think just from just that initial kind of message that you said, I'm on my way to hospital. And I'll be honest, mate, I think my first reaction was like, what's he done now? That kind of thing. And then it was okay, look, it's quite serious, but it's not too bad. And then it's like, actually it is quite serious, and it's like, wow, and I'll be honest, mate, I mean, not saying this from kind of a selfish way, but I was just like, is he going to be back to record another podcast? Like, what do I do then? And stuff like that. And it's like, there's lots of different thought processes going on. And I'll be honest, I mean, that for me, it kind of opened up my eyes where I was like, do you know what? Tomorrow's never promised and stuff like that. All this kind of stuff that you've been putting off and not doing and stuff like that. And the same for like other people as well. And what really kind of came to front of mind with me is not so much necessarily for me. I think with me, I'm more lazy than lacking confidence and stuff like that. But you get a lot of people who are reluctant to do something because they're like, oh, what if someone says this, or what if that happens, or what about this, what about that? And I think the big thing there is, but what if you don't? What if you don't take action and something happens?
And it was interesting because going to your first point, I went through huge emotions when I was in hospital. Because again, when I was texting you, I said, it's nothing serious. I'll be out in the afternoon. And
you were trying to trade Forex at one point, right? I'm like, what are you up to? Just trying to trade some forex.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was learning how to trade, because it's interesting, because I was there. I was in the hospital, and I was thinking, right, I need to think of ways of other ways of bringing, these different income streams. Like we keep saying, that people, the rich people, the real sort of millionaires or whatever in this world, they have multiple income streams. So I was just thinking then of all the different income streams I could start producing. But I went through that range of emotions to, oh, it's not so serious. Then, actually, it could be a bit serious. And I must admit, well, in the afternoon, I was in tears. When it had that final heart attack, I was just thinking, wow, is this it? Is this the end of everything? It's only just started. So it was a massive emotional swing. And the realization that, and I guess you can relate this to business, but the realization that in health, I thought I could manage things. I thought I could manage stress levels. I thought I could manage all this kind of stuff. And in the end, it's, unless you seriously take the real effort to manage it properly, you just play with it. And that's all I was doing, and to play with it.
As well, that we've obviously had a few of these podcasts where we've spoken about the pandemic coming to light and stuff like that, and the pandemic coming to light there is all around health, and people really looking back to that health and being, do you know what, like anything could happen and stuff like that, you need to look at health. And the conversations that we've had this week, and we're just kind of looking at different things, and I was saying about this whole thing of, look, wherever you are today is started 90 days ago, and different habits and stuff like that. And we went through the whole kind of lifestyle thing and things like working too much and, not necessarily looking after your health with exercise and dieting and stuff like that as well.
That's right.
It is just great. And the thing is, you have to be in good health to run a business, right?
Yeah.
Or even if you're working in a job, I mean, you still have to be in good health. I know sometimes if you're in a job, you may get some sort of sick pay or something like that. But, I mean, what good is that? I mean, that should just be there as, a safety net, not as a way of looking at, okay, I'm covered if that happens.
Yeah. And, it's, I mean, again, a couple of points there that you mentioned as well, is there's too many people who wait till retirement or whatever that is. I'll do this when I'll wait until I have the money to do something. And if we do that, it may never happen. And that was what became so apparent to me, is that it's all about, you've got to live as much as you can for that moment. So you're in business not to be working stupid hours. You're in business for it to be a vehicle for you to live your life, but live your life every day. That was the thing that sort of came to me. Came to me from that. But it's so important just to be doing the things that you want to do in your life as you're growing your business. It's all about the business being the vehicle. And the last thing that you mentioned there about, I got freedom as high on my values list. And when you break it down, freedom doesn't really mean much on its own. And when you think about the freedoms that I want to enjoy, so it's obviously there's financial freedom, but there's also the freedom of health, to have an able body to move around, the freedom of mental health, so you can be thinking and you can be constantly alert and aware of things and learning all the time, and the physical health to actually do those things. And financial freedom is no good if you don't have your health, and that comes down to it. That is the huge thing. You have to have a decent health, whether, as you say, whether it's in a job, whether it's in business, but that health for those things, so that you still have a healthy life and you can live your life well as well.
That does exactly. I remember reading or hearing something, a few months back, and it was about Steve Jobs. And it said about like how much money he had and stuff like that, and obviously his health started deteriorating and stuff like that. Yeah. And, back when he had, like, say, a couple of weeks or a couple of days left to live, it said, like, do you reckon if you asked him to trade all his wealth for an extra year, he would do that? Of course he would. And it's just like, we always kind of put money as that top thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's something you mentioned there as well. I just think, like, mental health, like, I think mental health is obviously, I think it's in the news all the time and stuff like
Yeah,
that these days. But actually, when you look at it, it's in your own kind of thinking, your own kind of headspace.
exactly. Yeah,
That's that sort of side to, just keeping your mental health ticking along and stuff. And I know, for instance, like both of us, we spend quite a lot of time reading and learning and stuff like that,
yeah,
rather than that whole kind of hustle and grind
yeah,
and that sort of stuff, because you can only do so much for so long
yeah,
before you hit burnout and
yeah,
you get that wake up call, or something happens where it's just like, right, okay, look, you need to slow down, or you need to stop.
yeah,
And I think that those signs, I think, like you said, looking at this kind of situation and looking at business and stuff like that as well, as I think in business, as much as in health, it can be quite easy to ignore the signals and ignore the signs and just still carry on.
That's a problem. This is the thing. It's interesting because I know we've had this conversation before. So I obviously don't have an ECG at home where I can measure my heart, but you have the access to taking your pulse, and you have the access to feeling about and sensing how you're feeling. And it's too easy to have those indicators, if you like, and ignore them. And business indicators in the same. It's too easy to have this dashboard of indicators and measurements and make judgments that it'll be okay. That's okay. That doesn't matter if we're making a slight loss, or it doesn't matter if we're going slightly in the wrong direction. It will be okay. And the thing is, it won't be okay if you take your eye off the ball. There you go. I realize now, I just over the period of, it was, that kind of, like you said, the 90-day chunks. It was over a period of about 3 months. I wasn't walking as much. I wasn't exercising as much. I was just plodding along here here in the desk and doing more and more, and not paying attention to any of the signs. Terrible, isn't it?
That's the thing, isn't it? Not paying attention to the signs. And like we're saying with business and stuff like that, I think that the biggest part there, where I kind of link that through to the likes of marketing and stuff like that, is customers. So I think a lot of people, especially kind of people who are in business on their own, or it's a real kind of small business, and there's lots going on, and you obviously have to deal with the customers and fulfill what you're delivering within your business. But you get that kind of that feast and famine, or that kind of seesaw of getting customers, dealing with customers, needing to go back to getting customers. And it's always that thing when a business gets to that point where they go, we need more customers, it's too late. You should have started 3 months ago. And
going back to the situation that I'm in, it causes stress as well, which is if you have a great time of feast where everything's going okay, but you know that there's going to become a famine, you already start to build up the stress. So why not try and if you like, plant the seeds and get the marketing going while you're having the good times? Because again, I remember I can't remember which mentor it was, but being told that it's more important to market when you're having a good time, when the business is going well, than it is maybe when you're struggling with business. Because when you're struggling, you're marketing you're really concentrating on your marketing. When things start to go well, it's really interesting. I just saw a comment from someone just today. I've been really, really, really busy, they said, doing this, and I haven't had time to ... And that's where you can say, well, you have to make the time, because in a few months, that big project they're working on will have gone, and they may not have anything left in the pipeline. Stress levels rise, and it's always been told that stress is a killer, and it's certainly come home to me that it really is a killer.
Crazy, man, isn't it? Like I said, I think that stress is I think everything, like we said before, I think everything comes back to money. I think everything kind of stems from money where stress happens. And it's like, it's usually something that money could have solved. So we always want more money for that kind of thing, but it comes back to, like you said, it's options, so that you can be free. That freedom of whatever it is. So even with health and stuff like that, it's like, okay, having the money means that you may be able to eat the right diet. Having the money means that you may be able to get away into the woods for a week and stuff like that. Having that money may mean that you can get different mentors or stuff like that to help you within your business, and also, that money can help you then, pay the bills and everything like that. And it's like, that whole kind of stress thing sometimes it's not even it was never needed in the beginning. It could have been solved early on. But like you said, those signs have been missed. It's been moving on and moving on, and that whole thing of, when business is going well, we don't need to market. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of times I've heard that over the past kind of 6 years, and we're talking from sole traders through to businesses that turn over millions. And it's like everything's fine, and it's like all of a sudden it's like a switch.
It is,
and all of a sudden the income is cut, and they're like, oh, we need to do marketing, we need to do this, and for people who are, say, on their own, sole traders and stuff like that, is that switch is, I need to pay the mortgage at the end of the month, or I need to pay the rent at the end of the month, I need to make some money quick. And it's like, wow, how did you get to this situation? And it's like, we've probably all been there, don't get me wrong, and it's like, you learn from those mistakes and you put things in place, but it's when it keeps happening, you're just like, do you know what, you need to make a change.
And I think that's what's apparent there is that we don't prioritize that enough. We don't prioritize that. If you're thinking about a human body, if you like, if you think of business as a human body, marketing is the oxygen that brings the body to life. And if you're not breathing, and you should be breathing obviously every day, if you're not bringing oxygen in every day, your business will die. It starts to die. And we don't prioritize that enough. Like you said, we're always chasing the money. We want this, we chase, and as we know, you start chasing things, you can never, they just run away, they slip out your fingers. So we've got to attract the money, and we attract it through getting a marketing machine that's working for us. And so it becomes less of a stressful situation. And we just want that steady flow of inquiries, of leads, and of customers. So we have that pipeline constantly moving. Just like the blood circulating around your body, it's just got to be constantly moving.
It is interesting. I mean, that whole thing, like we said, there's also the opposite part to that as well, is that when times get tough, marketing budget is the one that gets cut first. And it's like, it is a common thing again, going back to, I've heard, the whole kind of thing, numerous times. The same has happened with this. It's like, I don't have the money for marketing and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, look, fair enough. Not everyone has a budget to use, but it comes down to effort. It means you still have to be doing it to work. And it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think there's probably loads of businesses out there who are allocating their spending in the wrong way. So they're maybe not getting the return that they want. In regards to their marketing, but thinking of it that way, switching off the oxygen to your business. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Exactly. And I think that's what we realized. And it comes down to that. We've talked about this before, haven't we? That time allocation, not time management, because there's no such thing, but the time allocation. I need to allocate time every day to do something about marketing, whether it's done in the background, or whether I'm just monitoring it, or whether I'm actually doing it. But that has to have a chunk of your day has to be spent doing that every day. And if you, again, the small increments, the compound effect, if you're doing it every day, it builds. It'll build exponentially. But you start to ignore it, and it drops exponentially. And that's the whole point.
I think as well, mate. So a lot of the time, I think that people stop doing it, or they ignore doing it and stuff like that. And it just comes back to the clarity and the kind of knowledge on what to do. And it's like, we live in a time where, what an amazing time to be alive, with the amount of information that we can access at our fingers. The problem is that there's so much information out there that is not and we've talked about this before with people, is that they're not looking at the information, they're looking at the transformation. Right, so they actually want that kind of outcome. But for me, I feel like with marketing, when people are doing their own marketing, is that what they're looking for, that kind of informational side to it. But really, they actually need the directional side to it. For them to be able to get the transformational. And it's like that directional part, I think, is where a lot of people. We've been through it before, where I think that there's a lot of kind of noise going on, where people are telling you what you need and stuff like that, when they're the ones who are really trying to sell you, that solution. So whether it's paid ads or SEO or something like that, it's like, you need this, and this is how much it costs because we provide it. Rather than someone actually going, look, okay, what is it you're trying to achieve? What is it you have in place at the minute? What's working? What isn't? Yeah, and it's like if we really come back to, I guess the basics of marketing is that you need something to sell, you need somewhere to sell from, and you need someone to sell to. Right?
Yeah.
It's like that. That's all it is. It's that simple. It just comes back to that. But I think what happens is most people they just miss that, and all they do is they just go, right, okay, I'm not even going to look into that. I'm just going to go and pump stuff out, or I'm going to chuck some money at this, hoping that works or whatever. And it comes back to that. And we spoke about it before, which I call your POP, which is your positioning, your offering, and your process. And it's like if your marketing's off, if it's not working, it's going to come back to one of those three.
Yeah. And it's understanding because that positioning is essentially understanding what your prospects want. What is it? What are the challenges they're having that you can solve? Why?
I think that's just to me that is the massive thing. We've been through this before. Is that for me, your business is that you don't have this kind of avatar or this kind of market which your business serves. It's that you have that ideal customer, that persona of that service or product that you're delivering to that one person. And it's like you can get people who can buy the same product, but they've got different beliefs going on. And all it is just making sure that you can educate that person to you being able to provide that solution. But that whole thing with positioning, offering, and process is that once you have that crystal clear, you can build on top of that. And that's where the likes of your paid ads, your social, your website, your blogs, and all this kind of stuff works for you.
Absolutely.
And it comes back to that it just like it's all supporting you to help that core thing. So like you said, it is that the oxygen and stuff like that. It's like okay, well look, if the heart's not working, then the body isn't going to work, is it?
That's right.
So we need the heart to work, and it's like that pump of the business. It's just like and you get this a lot with people may say, oh, cash flow is what pumps out and stuff like that, and it's like of course it is, but
that's generated from your sales.
You need to generate it. That's
so the heart, if you like, the heart of your business is so the marketing is the oxygen that comes in, and it's the sales, the generation of the sales that's the heart of your business. And then the sales push out the cash, the blood flow of the business. But if the heart's not pumping, that blood isn't circulating anywhere. So you can have, and this is interestingly enough, there's I've seen situations where you can have quite a theoretically cash-rich company because they've got loads of reserves and stuff, but it's still not a business because just because they have a lump of cash, it's not doing anything, it's not serving anybody, it's not helping anybody, and so they're just sitting on a pile of cash. Well, you can sit on a pile of cash and not do anything. But the whole point about being in business is you want that asset to grow. You want to build that asset into something that's going to really give you that freedom. And just sitting on a pile of cash isn't going to do it because, as we know, with inflation as it is and interest rates as they are, whatever cash you sit on is actually depreciating every day. So the whole point is that you get sales in. The whole point is you offer something that people want and people probably need, but they don't like the word need so much. But people want. You generate sales, that generates cash, and you're building your asset while you're helping other people.
Totally, and I totally agree with that. Building the asset is really what the goal is, right? That's what we need to do. And we spoke about it before, where it's like, look, you have life goals. And the life goals are what you want. And like you said, it comes back to that kind of freedom. And the business then is that vehicle that makes it happen. Well, that vehicle has to get bigger. It has to grow, and it has to be then turning into that machine that does provide for you. And I think so many times, people want that just straight away, and they don't understand that it takes the time to put in the work and stuff like that. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and there's a football coach from one of the top colleges, so American football, and there's I forget which one it was now, but he was basically just talking about his kind of philosophy with everything and the way he does things. And he said that for him, he got to obviously being a coach, but the head coach, but he went through all the different stages of the different jobs to be able to get there.
Yeah.
He said when he goes into the building now, he takes the elevator to the 14th floor. He said the elevator opens and he walks out straight into his office. And he says he tells the other people, when people say, oh, you know, I want to do this, and he's like, you have to take the stairs. He said, because he said that's what I had to do to get here.
I love that.
And it's like, it makes so much sense, right? Is that, you know, people don't want to take the stairs, they want to take, you know, the elevator.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, and I think this what happens with marketing as well for me is, like I said about clarity, maybe they don't understand it, or, you know, it's confusion on what to do. Is that they should live in that, you know, those stairs, or like, you know, you should be happy taking the stairs, spending the time doing it, because all that you learn along the way just builds you up in business.
I know, that's like that. Yeah. It's and I totally agree with you. We have to, again, there's so many books that talk about this, from the compound effect to a lot of the Jim Rohn stuff, is that you cannot sow your seed and then harvest a massive bumper crop. Same as the stage. You have to go through the processes. It's all the thing. You have to walk up the stairs to become that person that you need to become, to be able to be whatever that person's going to be that your goal is. And that they said,
well, just to be able to deliver at that level.
Yeah,
is that you need to be able to have that kind of step there with that. But like, it's totally that way, isn't it? You know, I like the way I've kind of heard it described before, is where, you know, someone says, where's my tree? And it's like, well, they only planted it yesterday.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, you know, it's like, you should have planted it 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that is the thing, is I think sometimes people just expect it instantly and stuff like that. But not only is it just a case of, you know, you can't get that. I think you miss out that, you know, for one, making the mistakes, going through, figuring out, you know, how to do things better, or how to do things in a certain way. I know that we have ways of doing certain things that you wouldn't get in any kind of marketing company, or, you know, for other individuals. And the reason we've done that is we've been through so many different, I guess, different services and companies and stuff like that, of working with different people, where we figured out, well, look, this doesn't actually work that well. So we want to change it to this. And actually this works really well, but once it gets to this level, it actually needs to move then and evolve into this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's those kind of things that you don't get. You know, just by, you could buy a company tomorrow that's turning over millions or whatever, right? You go in to try and run it, you're not gonna have a chance, you know. But if you've spent all your life building up a business and everything like that, you know, and you know, you now have this business that turns over millions, well, you know how it works. You know, other people are running it. Yeah, you know how it works. And
the other thing is the whole mindset thing. Having gone through your process, you've created the right mindset to receive and to grow lots of wealth. It's interesting because I've got a mindset coach, a money mindset coach, and it's true. If you think about the amount of lottery winners who win millions on the lottery one year and the next year they're bankrupt because they don't have the correct money mindset to actually know what to do with it. It blows their mind. So if you've gone through all those steps, by the time you're earning millions, you understand what it's all about, what the millions are, what you've become. So you become you can manage having millions into your business. If you go from having, I don't know, £5,000-10,000 to suddenly having 10 million, it's a totally different mindset. And if you haven't gone through that process, there's very, very few people who will hold on to that, and it'll just disappear through their fingers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same in business. You have to go through the steps to understand. If you want to have a business that is a certain size of business, as you said, you can't just jump through it. You have to grow it. You have to go through that experience of the hard times as well as the good times, and the experience of what works and what doesn't work. And the backbone of all that is marketing.
Thinking then, mate, is by it made me think of a story back when I was sort of like, I think maybe early teens, maybe a little bit younger, maybe about 11 or something like that. And I went to the boxing club. It was the first time I kind of went to the boxing club and stuff like that. I wanted to get into it. My dad took me along, and I've been going along like once a week or twice a week or something like that for about a month. And I can remember my uncle coming over to the house, and then my mum saying, "Oh, you know, Jamie started boxing and stuff like that." And I can remember he kind of put his hands up in that, and he said, "Oh, you know, throw some punches." And I kind of threw a jab, you know, and he's like, yeah, throw a hook, throw an uppercut. And I said, oh, they haven't taught us that yet. You know, and he said, well, he said, like, you know, you should be learning all these different punches and stuff like that. You know, you need to go somewhere else. And it's like, he said, what have they actually been doing there? And I said, well, you know, we kind of get the stance and, you know, the way to kind of stand, and then we kind of go up and down this line, you know, and we kind of move around, and then we throw a jab and, you know, make sure that we're blocking and stuff like that. He's like, oh, it's rubbish. You know, you need to be learning this and learning that and everything. But it's like the reason this club went on to produce, like, you know, champions at schoolboy level for England and stuff like that. And it's like the reason that they're doing that is that, you know, when you're in the boxing ring, when you're in that fight and things aren't going your way, you can get out of trouble.
Yeah.
You can move, you can block, you can move around. You know, your jab gets you out of anything you want, you know, and stuff like that. And obviously, once you mastered that, you know, you would then taught the different kind of moves and stuff like that, because the way you kind of move to throw a punch and stuff like that, well, it's going to knock you off balance if you haven't got the right stance.
Okay.
You know? And stuff like that. And it's like, so many things like that taught me lessons that I still go with today. You know, and it's like, right, okay, look, we need those foundations, right? Before we start building on top. Otherwise, we've got house of cards and it's all going to fall down.
And it's all going to fall,
you know? And it's like, but that kind of stuff there is just like, yeah, you know what? It's like, the amount of kids, I guess it's probably a little system as well that they had, that they just got rid of the people who weren't serious.
Yeah.
Because, you know, going up and down the line for an hour, you know, and just moving around and stuff like that, just, you know, it's just be like, what's the point?
And it's the same with martial arts, isn't it? The martial arts, they start with one move and you just repeat and repeat and repeat. And like you say, it's a natural filter. People are going to think, oh God, this is boring. And they're not the ones who are disciplined. Yeah. Because martial art is all about, and boxing, all about the discipline.
I guess it's other stuff though, isn't it? I mean, even with you know, playing an instrument or something like that, you know, you learn, you know, different chords and learning a language, you learn the kind of basic phrases or whatever first before you can build onto it. And even if you take another sport, I mean, if you take, I'm saying football for American listeners, you know, we mean soccer, right? Soccer, we mean football. But it's like if someone's taking a free kick, for example, you know, it's like, well, they've practiced those free kicks however many times, haven't they? You know, to be able to do that. It's just like, it is interesting. And it's like, you know, there's so many things that I'm thinking out with this podcast and different things that you've mentioned so far. And I think like 3 things I'm going to run through and we can go through them. But one is just talking about football then. I mean, obviously we had that whole kind of issue on the weekend with Christian Eriksen, the Denmark player that just collapsed on the pitch. Man, I was watching it and I was there. I was just like, the guy's dead. You know, the guy's dead. And he was, you know, they brought him back, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, this is a guy who's, you know, a pinnacle athlete. You know, he's in the best condition of his life. He's a great player and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, you know, his wife's watching him basically die on the pitch. It's like, who knows what tomorrow brings? It's insane, right? I mean, that even for me watching that with the whole kind of stuff with you, and then with that, man, I need a drink. Like, you know, it's like it's crazy because you don't know what's about to happen. And it's like, okay, look, you know, thankfully for him, you know, the right medical support were there and stuff like that. And probably because he's fit and stuff like that, they were able to save him and carry on. And it's like, right, okay, but you know, what if that happened to you? What if no one was about or anything like that? You know? What happens if this was your time to go, right? I think this is the big thing, right? What happens if today that happens, right? And it's your time to go, you know, God, whatever powers, whatever that just decided that's it. Are you happy with what you've left behind?
Yeah.
You know, are you happy with whatever you've done? Do you know, is that, you know, do you think now, do you know what, all those kind of Netflix series that I watched, all those kind of times just eating pizza and, you know, sitting around and stuff like that, should I have done more? Could I have done that thing that I wanted to do? Could I have made an impact? Could I have changed someone's life?
The quote, wasn't there? There's a quote, I can't remember who put the quote together, but a graveyard is full of unfulfilled potential.
Yeah, exactly that.
You know?
Yeah, I think I've seen like a few things as well. And it's like, I can't even think what it is now, but it's like when people on their deathbed, you know, they never say that I'm glad that, you know, I didn't do such and such.
Yeah.
Because I was too scared or whatever it was. It's always the opposite where they're just like, I wish I would have done that.
I wish I had done something. Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, whatever you want to do it today.
Yeah,
I think it's like that way.
I think you have to work on that premise. This is the whole thing with again, you know, goal setting. Goal setting isn't just about, it's not about money. I mean, what do you want to see in life? Do you want to go on holiday somewhere, a place where you've never seen before? And maybe there's going to be obviously there's going to be a cost involved, and of course with the with the current,
can't go anywhere anyway.
but the point is, you say, right, now I'm going to put money aside for that's what that fund is for. So instead of me saying I'll do this when I retire or when I have the money, start building that little pot now, and so that in a year's time you can go and do it.
That's the big thing, isn't it? We're saying like do it today, but yeah, look, plan it today. It could be a year's time, it could be 3 years time. But start today. Start moving towards it today. You know, that little step of success every day to move you towards what you want to achieve. You know,
and that's a huge thing. And when I talk about the mindset in business, is that we the big thing I say, you can be successful every day, and it obviously depends on what and how you define success. But one of the things is, I want to go on holiday. So, for example, I want to go to Paris to see them in the new year. All right. Okay. I start putting money aside now, not in December thinking, damn, I haven't got the money to do it. Start putting money aside now and just dribbling it into and not saving for the sake of saving, but saving for something. You're saving that money to get to Paris. You get to Paris in the new year. And what a success that every day you've put aside a certain amount of cash that's going to take you to Paris. So that every day becomes a success.
I know that there's this kind of thing as well that you've kind of spoke about kind of, you know, with goal setting and stuff, is that you will find a way. And I've kind of heard this said in a different way as well, where, like I said, that whole kind of Paris thing, it's like, well, look, book it now.
Book it now, yeah.
Right? And it's like, you know, you will find a way to make the money and stuff like that to do it, or to find the time to actually make it happen.
Yeah,
and it's like, because you're consciously aware about it.
Yeah.
You know, so you're looking at those kind of opportunities to make it happen. Well, I think what happens is that you put off, and you think, I'll wait until I've got the money to do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Never get the money to do it, you know. But it's like, it's crazy, isn't it? But I was thinking then as well, is that, you know, I know for you, mate, I know we're kind of getting kind of personal stuff like that, but I know with you and the whole kind of issue with the whole kind of heart stuff, is that you're just like, yeah, do you know what? I'm kind of like starting again, that kind of hit and reset, is that, I need to do these things now to make sure that, you know, I safeguard myself and everything. And it's like, I can remember seeing a quote on Instagram that it says something like, you know, never be afraid to start over or change direction, because you're not starting from zero anymore.
No.
You know, all that kind of stuff that got you to this point, you start from another level. And it's just like, I think that's great. I think so many times people get stuck on the wrong path, you know, where they're doing something and maybe it's not what they enjoy, or it's not what they want to do, or whatever, and they want to do something else, and they think, well, it's like starting over again. And it's like, well, it's not starting all over again. It's going back to that word of adapt and pivot and you know, all that kind of stuff, because you're still you. Still bringing it to the table,
and you still amass that knowledge. Like you said, 90 days, you can make such a change in your life in 90 days.
So think about that as well. There's another kind of quote image that I see going around. It's accredited to Elon Musk. I don't know if he actually said it, or if people are just using that for the kind of image. But it just says, take your 10-year sort of plan, right, and put it into the next year. And it's like, you probably won't achieve it, but you'll be so much more forward than if you were just planned out the 10 years. And I'm just like, you know, it's just like, you know, just go with that kind of, you know, that big scary goal.
Well, it's interesting. It comes back to the questions we were asking. I can't think, it was podcast 8 or 9. I can't remember. It's the question why. So you have this 10-year plan, and the question is, well, why 10 years? You know, why not 5 years? Why do you have to wait 10 years for it to, or is 10 years too long to plan? For me, it's so interesting. I remember reading some stuff from a company called Strategic Coach a while back, and this guy, the owner, had a 25-year plan, and this is where he's going to be in 25 years. And I remember thinking, wow, great idea, I'm going to start doing that. And you realize that you can't. You can have that 25-year idea of where you want to be, but it's never a plan, because everything changes. And I think, again, the slight edge says, make a plan, but you know the plan will change on day one. But the plan is just to get you started, and then things change, and then and like you said, you pivot and you change it. But the plan is kind of like, I'm going to swim the lake the first part of the plan is jump off the pier. That's what you do.
It's quite interesting as well. I don't know if we've mentioned this on a podcast, but I know I've mentioned this to you before, is that when we talk about marketing strategy, and it's like the whole point of putting together the whole kind of strategy is that, look, we have the outcome, right? We know what we're working towards to achieve it, and then we start putting in how we can achieve that. And I can remember reading something, which it was either the SAS or it was the Navy SEALs, and it just said the strategy goes out the window as soon as the first bullet is fired.
Yeah.
And it's like it just makes so much sense, because just like, look, you plan it out as if there's no kind of conflict or there's no kind of issue or anything like that that's going to happen. But what happens is when that thing does happen, when something happens, you need to be able to adjust, but still move forward towards that target. Still complete the mission. That's the thing. Still complete it. And it's then that thing coming back to taking the steps and stuff like that, is that it equips you with being able to deal with that. That when something doesn't go your way, it's not the case of you just give up or you walk away or whatever. It's like, right, okay, I just need to adjust. And then we go and do it this way. And sometimes it just means that you need to be more aggressive and go and speed up that mission and get things done. And I know, mate, this is what we've been talking about. I know from, conversations we've had from doing this podcast and setting up, kind of strategy and conversions and looking at what we can do. And, we were playing about with it, really. We just kind of talking and stuff. And we were just like, yeah, okay, well, look, we could do this and we could do that. And mate, I'll be honest, we're talking about it. And I'm like, do you know what, Mark? Like, making 30K a year doesn't excite me. It's like, if we're going to do this, we need to do something big. And it's like we need to be looking at next level sort of stuff really. Sooner rather than later. And it's like and I think from what's going on in the past 2 weeks, that's where we are. And it's like we've already looked at putting together what we've called Progression Club. And this is to help people, no matter what level they're at, is that they're always taking a step forward. So whether it's mindset, whether it's the marketing side, whether it's just information to support them with business, is that we're going to do, Q&A calls. We're going to do different courses for them. They're going to have messaging systems that they can speak to us in the team and stuff like that, just to help them, their own kind of community of just a growth environment of people who are looking to take that next step. So there's no kind of negativity. And it's like, that there is just, one part of what we've got coming up.
Coming like soon.
Just that aggressiveness. That it's just like, well, look, we need to put this in place, because not only do we need this for us, but also for everyone else as well. Let's stop playing. Let's just do things seriously.
We're going through this exact process ourselves. Maybe at a different stage. But the reason why I love Progression Club is because it's progression. It's daily steps to moving towards something. It's not a quantum leap to reach this. We're going to reach this mountain next year. It's a progression, and progression can be as fast or as slow as you want. But the whole point about it's progressing. You're moving towards something. Hence, Progression Club.
Like we've said before, is there'll be people who are in a job and they just want to make a bit more money from that job. Maybe they're in a sales job or something like that. They want to make a bit more. Maybe they want to leave that job and maybe they want to start a business on the side or something like that. Maybe someone is making 30K a year, and they just want that to be sustainable, or they want to make a little bit more. Maybe they want to make 60K. They want to double it. Maybe people are at that stage where they're making decent money and they want to grow a business now. They want to start bringing people in. And it's like, all this is covered, and it's like whether someone's been in business for however long, they've got a great business, that's turning over, and they're looking at the next step. What is that next step for them? That next step is different for everyone. And the whole point is that we create that environment and give them all the tools and techniques and strategies that they need to help them do that. And it's like, for me, it's just like, it's invaluable.
Absolutely.
I wish I just had this when I was getting started.
And it's invaluable because we're using it now and it's working for us. So
this is it. I think that's the big thing. And I think what we'll do, we'll put a link in the whether you're listening or watching this, we'll put a link to check out Progression Club. And we'll see what's coming up with there, because I think we're looking at doing the first Q&A call. So obviously anyone can come on and ask their question and we're going to answer it. We're looking at doing, I think it's the 6th of July. So I think is probably until the 5th of July. We'll run some sort of launch offer or something like that to get people in at an affordable rate, and they can they can lock into that. But yeah, wherever you're watching or listening this, check out the description. There will be a link, and hopefully we'll see you in there and help you kind of move forward. But
Yeah.
I think what we'll do, we'll wrap things up relatively soon.
Okay.
And I think we will look at the next podcast episode. I think we're going to come back to looking at kind of innovation. Because
Yes.
I know when we finished not the last
Yes.
podcast, but the one before, we were talking about the Thomas Edison story.
Yeah.
You know, we've left people hanging for that, mate.
Yeah, we have.
It's like, you know, so we'll talk about that one, because I just love that one of, it's not, never give up. Just keep working towards, you know, what you're looking to achieve, because it will happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes, you know, you don't have to come up with all the answers. I think that's the big thing there. You don't have to come up with the answers to make things work.
No, that's right.
Like, you know, it's just like people have already done it for you.
Yeah, they have. There's always people who've trodden the path before, and you just need to find it and find the path that's right for you and follow that one. Yeah,
exactly that.
Yeah,
exactly that. You know, key takeaways for this episode, just to kind of summarize it. I mean,
well, for me, I haven't really mentioned it, but it's been sort of in the back of all the things we've talked about. It's just gratitude. The whole gratitude thing for every day. Take every day as it comes and be grateful for what you have and for the stuff you've managed to get done in that day. And instead of just finishing the day thinking, oh, I wish I'd done this, I must have done that, I should have done that. Just say, hang on a minute, I've done a lot of stuff today. Be grateful for the fact that it's there, and that the tomorrow, God willing, that you have another day where you can just carry on progressing.
It's massive, isn't it? Just gratitude, just to be grateful for, you know, not just everything that you have, you know, but like everything you've done and everything like that as well. And, you know, just that you are alive, you know, and it's like, you think as well, just like, just that whole kind of thing of being alive, you know, having tomorrow, I think is probably the thing that we take for granted the most.
Yeah.
But also as well, you think just like, just breathing, for example, you know, we just do it, don't we? You know, no one really taught us how to do it. You know?
No, exactly.
And it's like we do it every day and stuff like that, and we just do it without even thinking about it.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like there's so many things like that we can do within our lives. Like the same as if you go and, you know, you've been driving for however long, you can just go and jump in the car and you don't even think about it. You just go and do it.
Because
it's like those kind of habits you just need to fit into yourself.
And that's where
life, you know,
that's where the whole thing about climbing the stairs, because at one stage you couldn't drive a car, and you had to climb that stair to learn how to drive a car. Now it's second nature. And I think that's the other takeaway for me is that whole 90 days is that, like in my situation now, I'm having to change things, obviously, from what I was doing before, and changing the way I'm doing things. And I'm not starting, but it's nothing about starting again. You have that knowledge that you've amassed over all that time you've been alive and working. So if you're going to change something you do, if it's changing from a job to a business, or changing the way you do your job, or wanting to grow your business, or wanting to grow to another change the business plan, do something else and pivot, you're not starting from scratch. You're never starting from scratch, because scratch is it's inferring that you don't have any idea of what you're doing, whereas you've amassed all this knowledge to this point. So that 90 days has brought you to this point. So use that, change what you want to do if you want to do that, and move forward.
It's crazy, mate. I was just thinking then as well that there's another important lesson there. I think we'll have to obviously look at in another kind of episode. But it is just going too fast, where that whole kind of thing, like you said, is that, you know, 90 days has brought you to here. The next 90 days is what you need to work on to get to where you want to be, right? And we're talking about health here and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But anything in general. So business, whatever it is, that next 90 days can be transformational. But if you went out now and you just went, do you know what? I need to be healthier. I need to be fitter and all this kind of stuff, right? And you just went out and started trying to run, you would kill yourself, right?
Yeah.
You know, like literally, like you would die because your heart can't handle that.
No, that's right.
I think what happens as well in business sometimes, and that whole kind of thing, is people wanting it now.
Yeah.
They do everything within a short space of time. And what they either do is they get disheartened that things not working, you know, or discouraged because no one bought their product that they mentioned twice, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they face burnout.
Yeah.
You know, they just do too much in a short space of time, and it doesn't work, and they just end up that whole kind of, again, feast of famine or whatever it is, that is keep putting effort, where actually it's just those, we've said it all the time, haven't we, the compound effect of slight edge. We need to come up with our own phrase for that.
We do.
Just come up with a new kind of way of looking at things. But it is just adding those layers, you know, and just moving along and just moving things up. But yeah, I think, mate, do you know what, the biggest takeaway is that, yeah, mate, do you know what, you're still here to fight another day, which is great. And it's just, that is just the important lesson to me. It's just like, yeah, do you know what, everything could have just changed within that moment,
couldn't it? Yeah.
You know? And it's just like, now it's just a case of, is there anything that, you know, I know we're getting personal again, but is there anything that you've just like, you've come out of hospital and you're just like, right, this is what I'm doing, this is a change I'm making, or this is what I'm going to be doing, or stop doing, maybe?
Yeah, it's I guess it comes down, it is, I haven't stopped drinking, but and I had slowed right down, but I know in my youth I was drank far too much, so I'm playing hockey and stuff. And I think that is it. It's just big every day, think about what I'm doing, and how the heart's handling it. So, you know, fatty foods, all this kind of stuff, just thinking every day, is this am I doing the best thing for my heart? And I think that
is crazy, though, isn't it? You think, right, if you had like an alarm going off or someone in your ear that when you were about to do something, they just went, do you know what, this is the consequence.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? It's I read something there, I don't know if it's true or whatever, but it was something like, you know, if you drank like some sort of fizzy drink, some sort of soda or something, like a can of it, you need to drink like 30 glasses of water just to balance out the acidity,
sugar,
you know, and stuff like that. And it's just like, if someone was in your ear just before you're about to take a sip, you know, you think that kind of way, that this is what it's doing. You know, would you actually do it? You probably wouldn't.
No,
you know, but we don't get that, and it's just like,
and we just
we just tick along until there's a warning sign.
Yeah, you know? And I think that's part of the whole thing, is that when you're young, or when I was younger anyway, you just think you're invincible, you can do anything, and you realize that it doesn't start. So I'm 62. It didn't start in my 60s. It started in my 20s through drinking too much, eating too much rubbish. And it's again the compound effect, isn't it? Just build up and build up and build up. So the doctor couldn't tell me when I had that block, when it started. It's like the whole the millstone thing. If you start turning a great wheel, you can't, and it goes faster and faster. You can't tell which was the push that made it go faster, because they're all making it go faster. It's that thing. So when you whatever you're doing every day compounds, and if it's the wrong thing every day, you get the problems I got.
Don't matter. I think again, there's just so much in this.
There is.
Kind of take different lessons from, but like you said, that whole thing there of it works both ways, doesn't it? Because that whole kind of thing in your 20s, that maybe excessive drinking or bad foods or whatever can add up then to being an issue later on, right? But also that kind of education and the work in different businesses and stuff like that you've been involved in all throughout the years have put you in a stage where you are now, that you can obviously make expert kind of decisions and guidance on on anything to do with business because of that. And it's the same with anybody else. I think that whole kind of overnight success thing is like, right, okay, look, you have to put in the work and go through the motions. But I think the big thing there is you have to be ready to take the opportunity. Yeah. So whenever that opportunity comes, right, you need to be in a position that you're ready to take it.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking, right, okay, when that opportunity presents itself, then I'll get ready to be able to take it. It comes back to that whole thing, like we said, with if you want to go to Paris for New Year's, it's like, well, you need to start working on that now.
Yeah, you start
not waiting until New Year's and go, okay, but maybe I'll go now.
Yeah,
because it's not going to happen.
That's right.
No,
I think that's and that comes back to some things where you say, sometimes you have to plan and put stuff aside, and we are one of the things we say, well, you can't plan, but you can certainly say, right, okay, I need to prepare myself for an event that I want to happen. As you say, it won't. You need to become somebody to be able to be someone, to be that person. And if you want to be going to Paris, for example, and you need, I don't know, 3 grand to get there or whatever with a, with a decent stay, then you need to start putting that money aside. So when that time comes, you have the money. You've become that person that has that 2 or 3 grand put aside so that you can make that trip.
Isn't it crazy though? Like you think like that with just like money and stuff, like coming back to stress, where people will stress about making, an extra 1,000 or something like that, when there's like transactions going on around the world of like millions and stuff. And it's just like, all you need to figure out is, like Grant Cardone says it best, it's like, who's got my money?
Who's got my, yes, I remember you said that before,
who's got your money,
Who's got my
money?
And
then it comes back to having something to sell, having someone to sell from, having someone to sell to.
Yeah,
it just comes back to that and everything. But yeah, I think, mate, looking to wrap things up.
Okay.
For me, the big thing for me from this episode is just like, do you know what? Tomorrow isn't promised. You don't know what's around the corner. So take action, make things happen. And like for me personally, that 10-year plan has now become a 1-year plan.
Yeah.
And it's just like, mate, I don't know how you're feeling, but we're going to get to work for the next year.
I'm good. Yeah.
We're making the next year count.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So look, mate, that's it from me, mate. It's always been a pleasure.
Oh, always good to speak.
We will see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Okay.
See you then.
Yep.